afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another exciting Propagandacast. I'm your host, Imperial Dane. We're here to an exciting 1 vs 1 on Feynman approach. We shall be watching here on one side. Agame fighting here for the United States of America for the 5th Infantry Division, holding the lines here as the Kampfgruppe Heinz shatters towards it. Barges towards it either way here. Bit of infantry bulletins, Jackson and anti-tanker bulletins for each. Airborne armor and infantry versus breakthrough fortifications. And Luftwaffe here for Theodosius. Right on the way for Mr. Agame. Also my apologies for the lack of 2 vs 2s lately, but due to the hot fixes and all that, there's not really been a lot. And in the period, there's not really been a lot. I've personally not seen any sort of really interesting 2 vs 2s. So my sincerest apologies. Of course, I am looking though, day and night, for some 2 vs 2. So of course, supply you with. We got tank traps here going up for already Agame here, and barbed wire that way. He's actually creating some heavy cover here where there's otherwise little, in particular on the point. More particularly, he's creating barbed wire, or a heavy piece of cover that he can only use. You know, Jeremy, why do we carry around stuff for tank traps but nothing for sandbags? Shut up, John. You're going to get us into trouble with the sergeant again. Meanwhile, up north here, we've got Ravener versus Storm Pioneers. Sending off the rifleman. Further rifleman there already, so initially Theodosius having some good engagement there, although poor Gunther might disagree. Come on, guys, don't leave me here dying. No, Gunther, you smell. Good track there, moving up. We've got Volkskriegs here. 2 Volkskriegs, Storm Pioneer with the 3rd squad on the way. 3rd rifleman there. And laying down a lot more barbed wire here from Agame. Doing his best to night cover, though interesting enough, he's not, for example, doing here around the tractor, which is actually proposed a bit of a heavy cover here. Either way, doing a decent job there. Heading up towards the centre as well. North so far in the hands of the Germans, of the Reich. Gauge is going off between the rifleman and the Volksgrenadier. Volksgrenadier moving up here. Shots going off there. Riflemen quickly find themselves a bit outmaneuvered, but at the same time we got a rifle squad here joining in behind the fence, opening up the Volksgrenadier. Quickly see there that Theodosius is forced to fall back as his men end up in a quite a nasty crossfire there. Nicely executed there by Agame, actually suffering not a single loss, whereas Theodosius' men were rather heavily cut down in the process. So well played there, quickly falling back here for some cover, some protection. Of course, this building is not really well suited for infantry, as you might notice. There's only one window each to use on one side, so not really very effective for sort of infantry defense, except maybe stalling the enemy, while Sage Storm Pioneers will not sort of clear out the mess for them, which is what we quickly have happening there. We've got Volkskriegs happening here from the south. And there you go, Raffen in a bit of trouble. Trucks moving up here for Theodosius, something planned, we're not sure what. Storm Pioneers barely make it out of there alive, actually. We're already here with 3 riflemen up. We got Agame taking up here. Could have maybe gone for 4th rifle squad there. Some players do, but in most cases it is very common for an American player to just go for 3 rifleman squads, then lieutenant. More common though if they go for 4 riflemen, it tends to be a good indicator, for example, of a captain on the way. Now again, some players like to buck the trend and, well, basically go for 4 riflemen, then a lieutenant. No sign, by the way, of upgrades here for the rifleman for Agame. Rather than a bit of fire here, we got the MD-34 moving up. And immediately the armies there get raked with righteous bullet fire. Ultimately forced away there. With immediate fortification here, of course, adding also in heavy fortifications, field defences, pack 43 emplacements and zeroing artillery, though generally heavy fortifications and field defences rarely sees any use alongside zeroing artillery. So a little note there. We got an M20 there on the way. For Agame again, rather in that regard, you know, typical American player, a lot of you know, go for the 3 rifleman lieutenant, also then quickly speed up M20 sort of that way, strike up against the opponent. So in that regard, he's going for pretty common there American metagame and no deep surprises. Generally tends to be effective unless, of course, the M20 sort of quickly finds itself countered in one way or the other. Right out in the middle of the road, but looks like they might be able to get past. Oh, never mind, a mine here catches half the unit, leaves Rogers and Ryan a bit unhappy. Meanwhile, though, launching a nice sort of double envelopment, or envelopment here with the Viper and the Lieutenant here, catching the MG34 there. Nicely executed infantry assault there, by the way, by Agame, who's by the way also called for airborne here, which could open up for, say, Pathfinders. Meanwhile, the racial troops keeping the Volkskas here suppressed, though in the end that does wear off. Much to the regret of the rear troops of the Volkskas then strike back a bit harder. But the M20 moving in, Volkskas here could get wiped out. In this case, Theodosius was too slow to retreat. Pathfinders here arriving as well for Agame. Volkskas got wiped out. And here we got the mechanized Dreadnought headquarters up, speeding up there for fuel. He might aim then, I suppose, for a Puma as rapidly as possible. In fact, then as soon as he got it, shifting over towards munitions, I imagine for Panzerschrecks for the Volksgrenadiers. Or maybe mines. Certainly a possibility there for Theodosius. Ports there though are being secured. Pathfinder as well moving up here to about a bit of further pressure here for Agame. Pathfinders having become increasingly popular as well with American players as they realise their potency. Of course, they're not really, say, infantry. They can fight on their own very well, but usually fighting in support of others, or say, in a stronger position here, they might gain a slight advantage. In particular, the Volkskas can't really find much cover due to the extensive wiring job here that Agame did previously. They could actually maybe have shifted up there, but either way, he's basically settling for just rendering it neutral before getting away. Puma is on the way, Punches Spearback, more means being traded in for Panzerschrecks there arriving. Semi-regular metagame there for Theodosius. Currently, not a lot of them actually bother with a Puma in this case. He does seem to go for it basically sort of one method of trying to handle the M20. Besides the Panzerschrecks. Securing points there, M20 pulling back. He's also got the option here for example, laying down some M20 mines. In fact, he's already laid down here in the middle of the road. Good, good. Another one here is actually using a lot of munitions early on to basically create a series of tank traps, if you will. Of course, quite potent. For example, the Puma can in fact risk being immediately knocked out. That could actually be rather dangerous here for Theodosius already within the first few moments of it arriving on the battlefield. But good spots here. Good spots. In particular, this one's actually a bit of a surprising spot. You don't see them on, but could actually work since it's a... Well, largely, they'll always end up passing through there more or less. So, clever, clever. And then we got the schwerer Panzerspeerwagen out here. The 8-wheeled variant. M20 here striking forwards again, home to get some more kills. Who moving in? Opening up. Oh, missed! First shot there. Come on, Dieter. Going in there for that M20. Forces trying to regain the northern victory point here for America. And there we go. Oh, popping smoke right from the Puma. Cheeky, cheeky. And oh no, we actually lost the lieutenant. He lost the lieutenant. Dropping a BAR at the same time. Oh dear, Puma getting up some hits there. He might be attacking ground here. Otherwise, the smoke soon dissipating. And there we go. He could lose the M20. He could lose it. No, it got abandoned. And a bazooka was dropped here. Oh my god. Right now, it's just a party here for Theodosius. BAR's dropped. Bazooka's dropped. And M20 abandoned. Look, Dieter, Uncle Sam provides for Germany. Right, he was trying to grab it. Did get a bit shot up there by the pop. Airborne will dropped in here for Agame. And there you go, stealing away with the M20 right before his nose. Grenade here, attempt to knock it out, but it's already off. So all of a sudden here, Theodosius has been given a blessing from the German gods. A bazooka, BAR, and an M20. In that regard, Agame's just outfitted Theodosius at quite the outrageous price. And certainly things could look a bit ugly here. And of course, the mechanized headquarters, of course, ensures the M20 is immediately repaired. Minor engagement down here between Pathfinders and some Volksgrenadiers. Pathfinders doing what they can, but ultimately not quite enough. But at the same time, Agame is doing quite a good job striking at different points, keeping his opponent a bit off guard and sort of pushing him back and containing him. Although in this case he has paid a bit of a price there. Now of course at the same time it's not going to be easy for Theodosius to just sort of utilise this sort of opening he just created due to the heavy presence of the mines. For example, he could easily risk losing the M20 or the Puma in that regard. He's not, for example, upgraded his Storm Pioneers with a support package to help versus that. Of course, the question is, for example, what will Agame now do in response to this? Will he try and... Oh dear, the M20 hit the mine! He didn't even get to do any damage. Scheiße. Also, munitions cache early up here for Agame. Also, note, by the way, on his cut-off point, that's a good position, but overall, what will his response be from this point on? Will he take up sort of armor? Will he go for a company command post? Will he hang around here a bit longer? I mean, there are a few options there. Though most players sort of go for either platoon or company command post, generally tends to not go for both of them, but move straight on to the battalion command post for some armor there. Of course, we'll have to see how Agame actually reacts. Though, of course, the upgrade there could probably, well, the cache could also probably help him with more grenades, but also say something like machine guns and further stuff. We got Theodosius here moving out a bit more boldly, salvaging here the M20 for a bit of fuel, so at least that way he got some resources out of it. I suppose, though, it did cost him a bit of manpower to recruit it. But he's still got the BAI and he's still got the bazooka. Mine engagement up here. Puma needs some weapons to try and deal with that. There we go, good shot. And over here, right here again, we do see here that Agame's basically sort of created two larger forces that can sort of cover the wings, in this case sort of beating off any minor harassers, like for example this Volksgrenadier squad. Meanwhile, though, the North actually ends up losing against the Volksgrenadiers with the BAR and the Sturmpioniere with the Sturmgewehrs. And there we go, we do get a battalion command post there for Agame, so he could be going for a Sherman already, or if he might be feeling even bolder, a Scott. Though with the Puma around, a Scott might be a less of a safe choice, unless he's going to play it around here and try to bait the Puma into the M6 mine.
Target captured. Quick defensive position established. Target captured. No enemy contact. Achtung! Prepare for action. Puma ready. Crew stand ready.
He could of course get an AA half, of course he could also just consider taking up getting for a Schwerpanzer quarters, for example, cover his fuel point would be a pretty decent idea. Got the paratrooper taking up position in the centre, just dominating to make things a bit more awkward here, though at the same time we've got the M34 covering here, actually make it difficult for him to sort of take the point back. With the second MD-34 covering in north as well. Of course, he could also try shifting up there and then instead laying down some barbed wire, for example, around here and here, meaning any sort of path towards you will have to happen around here, giving the MD-34 in the building here more time to sort of aim at the enemy and deal with it. So that's just a small thought there. Schwerpanzer quarters up. As for the positioning of it, I can't really say it's a good one. Generally, you want sort of to cover the fuel point as well. Right here, I mean, he'll cover here, but I mean, there's actually a lot that sort of obscures it. Mine's going down there, though, for Theodosius. Not bad. MD-34 covering behind the fountain. But already here, we've got units flanking about. We've got a Volksgrenadier squad covering the flank of it as well. The BAR, the Browning automatic rifle. He ends up grenading his own men. Ach, scheiße. Sturmpioniere counter-attacking. Getting off a few good shots here for Germany. Puma rolls up. There goes Schwerpanzer quarters. I imagine Obersoldaten will be on the way rapidly there to help try and deal with the American troops. At the same time, paratroopers moving out here in front of the victory point, but they're quickly getting shot there by the MD-34. So right now, Agame is keeping up a nice, strong noose around Theodosius, making it very difficult for Theodosius to move around on the map. Of course, the Obersoldaten should help out with that. Now again, I mean, if he's going to retake all of this, he might want to consider again using parts of the fortifications doctrine again, you know, barbed wire or some minefields, even a flak emplacement in the right place, maybe some trenches, something could make it much more difficult for Agame to basically move towards there. There you go, rifle moved a bit closer here. Coming out of the power from the Schwerpanzer quarters and the MD-34. But there we go. The almighty Obersoldaten around the field, but soon are the Sherman tanks as well. We got the main here with a fort retreat point. I do have to say this is a very conservative one. I mean, it seems a bit, you know, besides the point. I mean, he might as well not bother with it. He could at least use him maybe instead of his own move up and call in some rapid barrages instead. I think that could actually work quite well for Agame here as well. Noting, by the way, he's Also then, crew the ambulance with the rear launch, then keeping the medics on the outside. I mean, it feels weird. Let's just keep it at that. Sherman on the way, anti-tank gun being dropped in there as well. And of course that's also very common. Also one I personally use when I play as the Americans. Basically, you go airborne, then you skip the company command post instead, just relying on airborne for the anti-tank guns instead. It's sort of a very nice little thing there to do. But regaining territory once more again. Mines, barbed wire. Again, anything you can do to sort of try and make this a bit more forts again. Barbed wire here. Here. Maybe some tank traps as well. And then the MD-34, I really think could make for a much stronger place and position. And we've got the Sherman 40 pushing back the MD-34. High close rounds going off. And it's actually time for the mid-game analysis. Current situation there. Theodosius striking back. Agame is losing a lot of territory, but he's still got quite a potent force. In fact, it's quite ready to strike here back against Theodosius. He's always got plenty of munitions, got more going in, thanks in part there to the munitions cache. That's definitely never a bad thing right there. So in that regard, that's pretty damn great. He might want... Oops, my apologies there. He could consider, for example, upgrading the riflemen with other bazookas or BARs for some more firepower, or waiting a bit and getting a Jackson there to support the Sherman on the move. But of course, recruiting the anti-tank gun. Maybe setting up here to sort of cover the center versus Puma movements there. My apologies right there. But for Theodosius, I mean, he's striking back. He's got orbital down now. He's getting there. For example, he can now lay down a Pack 43, which would definitely create a sort of zone of this is very awkward to drive around in for Shermans and so on. I mean, if he's going to do that, of course, that's going to be great. Though, of course, you might want to sort of position it properly so it can sort of reach properly as well, since it does have a limited range, which means if you do end up placing it not quite so well, you can end up risking, you know, not very well good coverage. I mean, around here would allow him to cover this point, but also this point, for example. Though again, he should then lay down some barbed wire. Again, usually the fortifications part of the doctrine, though. Again, a lot of players who go for fortifications generally tend not to be very much into fortifications. Who would have thought? But that's definitely a thought there. But if he's going for this, he should probably consider saving up for a Panther, then to sort of help strike out versus the opponent as well. Of course, he's going to rely on the Pack for a free and aggressive position. Schwer or Flak half-track will sort of certainly... I don't know what happened there. Certainly further the idea there. Maybe also sort of help a bit more aggressive versus the enemy infantry, as long as it's properly covered within the ages of the Pack 43. Of course, that is merely a thought as well. But it's certainly a bit of a risky thing. Again, he's constantly attacking. We're noting here again, Agame is basically sort of attacking all across the map. He's sort of striking here and there. He's never sort of just balling it all up and just throwing it at his opponent. In that regard, he's making it very difficult for basically sort of Theodosius to pin him down. It's also causing Theodosius to spread out several times. Also, booby traps. I mean, do use booby traps. They're quite potent and they can certainly do a lot to sort of slow down any enemy advance. Got the supply half-track moving up there. Again, no fortifications. Them a bit disappointing there into Theodosius. Sherman are rolling north. Battle group headquarters up instead to allow for healing troops and such. I suppose that could work as well. You could also consider getting an infantry gun then for a bit of light artillery that way. I mean, that could very well be a good option there. Agame there continuing to put in Pathfinders wherever he can. Got a nice mix of infantry. Again, I would love for him to actually move up this position a bit further. I mean, it seems a bit redundant to both have the ambulance and the medics and the captain with the fort retreat point right next to his base. I mean, that just seems highly redundant and a bit wasteful, really. I mean, I'm sure there's a good reason for it from Agame, but I'm puzzled. There you go, Obuslan leading our way here through the eastern road, pushing up through the shrubbery. Ravnir holding up nicely behind the heavy cover, though they are suffering losses. There's poor Hank, took a shot right there through the head, leaving him, well, not much smarter than he was before. There you go, though. Puma shot from the Shem going straight here for the Obuslan and quickly crushes Hans und Jürgen. Brutal stuff right there. You also got Rifleman holding up here. Not really getting a precision good for Rifleman unless they've got some BARs. I mean, there's not a lot of windows in particular. They get flanked here. They could actually be very poor for them. And right here at the front door, I mean, again, they've only got 2 windows, so they're going to need something with a lot of firepower. This Browning automatics to really make that a sort of nasty proposition. Always is going to need to get another 50 cal from that building. I mean, at most it's reconnaissance, but even then, you know, they have to get out of the front door, which is pointed towards the enemy, which generally is not that good. Jackson could be on the way. Oh, there we go. Pack 43 going up. Schwerer Panzerabwehrkanone. 41. Second biggest one the Germans made in the war. The biggest one was the Pack 44 with the exact same gun as the Jagd Tiger. Chew on that one a bit. But yeah, that was a very large anti-tank gun. He's actually keeping the paratroopers quite a lot there in this building. It seems a bit like a waste of them. Looks like he's getting ready to assault up through the centre instead. Slightly giving up in the north here for the time being. Those doing some force again. Mines, some barbed wire, some trench or anything could make things a bit easier for him there. He could also, for example, consider laying down a trench around here. I mean, that would make the MG-34 a lot safer and would also protect versus armour until, say, some anti-tank assets could arrive. Rifleman there getting plastered with shots. Pathfinders here versus the Orbis Line, and realising that path is very much barred. The Fulskers here trying to get a light support there with a Browning automatic. Rifleman in a bit of trouble, and there you go, Jackson moving in with his 90mm gun. Pack 43 that opens up, shattering trees and the likes, but no American armour. And of course at the same time also tipping up Agame to the fact there's a Pack 43, which of course is then likely going to cause him to be a bit careful. Victory points, by the way, are not quite looking in the favour of Theodosius at the moment. Agame's been able to keep up a very nice stranglehold on them as well. Wait! Alright, it just looked briefly like the medics had managed to get a Browning like machine gun. That looked a bit strange. There might have been some suspicions if you then went to check the stats. They might have gotten a few team kills somehow. Close to turning out, we got the Puma support and got the Storm Punch moving in. Rather far away from gaining veteran speed, which could allow them with the grenades. We've got tons of them going left and right here, which would mean, of course, Agame's active research grenades here, increasing further the potency men, increasing their utility, allowing them grenades and smoke screens as well. Right there, Storm Pioneers alongside the Puma, falls away. MD-34, orbital line up. Jackson's Sherman, and we got just a large assault going in here from Agame rolling in now. He's definitely going to get more confident here. And immediately Theodosius shift forward to his Pack 43 to deal with this. There's just one problem. It can't really reach that far north. I mean, it can basically just reach to the trees, but the problem is the trees is not the enemy. Not in this fight anyways. So in that regard, it allows actually Agame to basically secure this position quite safely. And set up some defense. In fact, he keep it covered with tanks and whatnot. And a Jackson essentially, Theodosius can't reach it very well. He's going to have to sort of really extend further with what he's then otherwise got. So it's a bit of a tricky situation there for Theodosius and Reich. Heinz not really having much luck with that bazooka so far. Oh, quick in here, where's the opposite one? Ow, half the unit gone. And can he make it? Ah, scheisse. Lost an orbital line unit there. Interesting enough, he did not pop a grenade himself, even a smoke grenade there on the paratroopers. That might have made the difference, but sadly that did not happen. The result instead were dead orbital darting all over the place. Meanwhile, we are finally seeing here a bit of a return to the south here from Theodosius trying to break out. Then the Riflemen realise that building is not really a good place at all. I mean, John, the upholstery is terrible. Oh, shut up, Derek.
Let's go! Armor car ready for action.
Sherman hits, so there goes second Sherman. Ultimately, importantly, note how Agame is sending up his army. It's got armor in the north, it's got armor in the south. It does spread them up, but it also creates one very important thing. It makes it difficult for Theodosius to sort of stop his tanks with just that one pack 43. Plus, we also consider he's only got one Puma. So in that regard, by splitting them up, he's essentially creating a situation where he then creates an opening for someone in the north. And of course, the pack 43 has to shift it back up to the north, and the south can sort of have. So he can basically alternate and basically keep Theodosius constantly shifting forward that pack 43 without being able to do much. Also, we've got some Browning automatics here being handed up for the Riflemen. That's good. Oh, in this case, oh no, Agame, scheisse. He might have made a mistake here. In this case, the Sherman was able to get away, though that was a very close shave there. One more shot, and that Sherman would have been best described as a Ronson. But now here, two Riflemen with BARs. Or two Riflemen squads, and looks like they have both been double upgraded, at least. Yes, in fact, so a large quantity of BARs, and actually the controllers have on both munitions point, but also the munitions cache. I mean, he's getting 63 munitions per moment. I mean, every 1 minute, he can get a BAR, basically. I mean, that's right now how much munitions he's getting, and that's how potent he is. Which actually makes him quite dangerous. And again, now you get the pack 43 once more turning again. It makes it very difficult there for Theodosius to really use sort of form an effective defense. So in that regard, a very nice counter tactic here from Agame in actually dealing with the pack 43. Well played there, well played there. Quick grenade here gets the false grenadiers. They do manage to dodge that one and probably get off one of their own maybe. Now of course there's still more BARs waiting right behind them. Oh, this time around the Sherman takes hit. We got the Puma wing up Panthers X. Sherman pulling back here. Puma misses. Oh no! He's taking the bait and straight into the aim mine there. And he gets abandoned. Impressive. And there you go, he's recruiting it. There's just one problem. It can't go anywhere due to being immobilized. The wheels are basically shredded and useless. The engine's not much better either. And the main gun doesn't work either. So basically, he's just wasted men on that Puma. There you go. Puma wrecked though. Either way, that's a bit of a harsh loss there for Theodosius. That's not something you can afford at this stage of the fight. But it's also beginning to look like he's actually aiming straight for a King Tiger in the hopes that will sort of turn things around. At the same time, it's going to cost victory points until then, due to again his diminishing control of the map. A Panther probably would have been a safer choice until then. And no, he's going straight for a King Tiger. It seems that's going to hurt until he gets it. And now he's also launched an MG-34 there to the Americans, who quickly recruited with some paratroopers and who quickly run off. Oh, here Agame continuing some excellent pressure versus Theodosius. Better containment there. And there, Global Grenade versus Steel Pioneers. Oh, he hits retreat! Ow, and they all just die. The losses are now really piling up here for the Kampfgruppe. The men are dying out. The vehicles are getting wrecked. And he's basically bleeding out there. And we got Agame moving up with more BARs. In fact, he might be getting more there. Or just a lot of grenades here. Oh, in this case, he's actually hoping to bait him into sort of retreating and then having the grenade already laid in the retreat path there. Looks like Agame there is getting rather confident versus Theodosius. That could actually prove to be dangerous if he gets too confident. That was definitely a sign of confidence there that he thought he would actually be able to sort of force his opponent to retreat straight into the grenade. Folks Grenadiers striking north. Jackson pulled back for repairs, so not looking too good there. But overall, still maintaining a rather solid field presence, although looks like he shot one Sherman. Might have not been too fast to retreat this time around. which did result in a kill there for the heavy anti-tank gun in service of Germany. But there we go, he just needs the manpower now, then he can get the King Tiger, the Königstiger. But can it save him the day? Can it turn the tide? It's certainly looking less and less likely as victory points are going further and further down. Repairs, well done, clever. Theodosius is again trying to move up, but it's becoming increasingly difficult. And there we go, King Tiger on the way. Will it save the day? I mean, he's only got one Jackson. He's got an anti-tank gun. He's got a tank. He's got an awful lot of infantry. There's a possibility that the King Tiger can actually turn things around here for Theodosius. There's a possibility, but it's not necessarily going to be a magical one. And of course, the thing is, he's also got plenty of munitions. I mean, going for a single P-47 rocket spray could completely turn it around. Oh, no. And he's just going to reach straight into a bit of a minor blob here from Agame. Ah, scheiße. If only left the Schwerpanzer cores up here, I think he'd be in a much better position, maybe. Then again, the Jacksons then could maybe handle it. But overall, I think these were too close to his base. They should have been further out. Same with the Major. In this case, the Major is not reading much, so that doesn't matter too much. But overall now, Agame's sort of really hammering in the north. He seemingly completely ignored the south because, well, Theodosius isn't going south. Theodosius is actually obsessed with the north. He's not trying to change the axis of attack. He's not sort of trying to break up a new front, maybe try to sort of draw Agame into that. Instead, he's sort of hammering into Agame head on. And that is giving Agame there then the ability to basically sort of draw away forces from the south and just basically further fortify the north. Making it even more difficult for Theodosius to break through. Of course, with the King Tiger, there might be a chance here of success, of victory. Of Bier und Bratwurst. But will it happen? Shattering straight through the trees right there. Not a lot of tanks can do that, by the way. But the King Tiger was a massive armoured beast. Moving ahead. And it misses the Sherman. Gott im Himmel, Dietrich. You're in a King Tiger. Hit like you're in one. There we go. Sherman down to less than half health. Bit of damage there, pulls back actually. We got the paratroopers up north, we got rifle striking from the south of the Volkskonzers. Ah, scheiße. Got the forces of counter-tank to maybe say, no, they did not save the comrades, got the paratroopers here. And there we go, one hell of a shot there from the King Tiger, knocking out the entire paratrooper unit. And then just crashing through the trees. But overall, Theodosius' lines are actually extended, horribly so, in fact. Of course, now there's a light machine gun here for him to pick up with one of his Volkskonzer's units. Smoke screens going down there to cover from the MD-34, but also cover a bit there from the King Tiger. Attacking the ground here, hoping to catch the rifleman. Less than 50 points there. And we got an anti-tank and shooting there from the north. Shot missed. Might want to use arm. Oh, there we go, arm-piercing rounds on the anti-tank gun. Shots that continue to bounce off the thick sloped armour of the Königstiger. The turret itself, while not so sloped, actually had some really thick armor. I think they're talking about like 300mm on the front places. But there you go, nonetheless, shots are in the end still going through here. And in the end, he does basically give up here, surrenders. realizing the fight has been lost here. Theodosius has been contained and more or less ground down here by Agame. It displaying some really good unit tactics, attacking from several angles at one time, overwhelming units, forcing them away. Could use the mindset, costing Theodosius both his light vehicles in the end, including the M20 there. He was successfully pilfered away from Agame. So overall, some very nice play there from Agame. Very nice play. In fact, you could call it an A-game there from Agame. And of course, again, we saw here some of the shots. At the same time, I do feel like Theodosius could have done more with the doctrine. Again, he could have tried to fortify in the northern area. I think it would have made it a lot more difficult for Agame to just attack there, for example. But again, there was very little actual fortifications going on there. And I also think he should have maybe gone for a Panther before the King Tiger. Maybe supported it with something else. Also, this should definitely have been up here, I think, at this up here instead. Again, it was too far contained here. And that rather also made it easier for Agame to avoid, instead allowing him to much more easily enact the strategy of attacking from different points, thus avoiding it. Again, very nicely done there by Agame. Also got use of doctrine, use of abilities. There wasn't really any need for the P47 though. Theodosius on the other hand, just MD34s, Pack 43, not quite as potent. So there were definitely some issues there on Theodosius' part. But anyways, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. If you did, want to subscribe to your friends, share it with everyone. If you're not, send in a replay and some feedback in the comment section. This is Imperial Dane saying cheers and thank you all for watching. Bye.